Hey everybody, Ethan here. Welcome to Hello Road. So today, I thought I'd spend some time and go over the cars that I have left in my fleet, give you a little bit of a fleet update. Now, if you've been following my channel, you're likely aware that I used to own too many cars and I've started to slim down the collection of mostly garbage, mostly dirty garbage, as you can see. And yeah, that's kind of a problem. The cars have been sitting out for a while and they are filthy. So today I want to move them around, get them all cleaned up, and we can go over everything that I want to do with them. So yeah, not too long ago, I had 13 cars in my collection of mostly crappy automobiles. Currently, I still have my 1988 Chevrolet Nova twin cam. Over there, I've got my Jeep Wrangler under the tarp. That's a 1992. I still have the 1997 Ford Probe GT here. You might remember that I was selling this car and it actually recently sold. It's still here because the buyer has not picked it up yet. And no, this really dirty Mazda CX-50 over here, this is not mine. Got this for a week to test it out on some dirt roads, although I do kind of wish it was mine because it's pretty nice. And as you can see, my Nova twin cam, I love this car, but it's really dirty. It's got spider webs on it. I gotta get this cleaned up and into the garage. And if you remember the videos about my Ford Probe GT, yes, this car's paint has always been trashed, but it is a little bit dirty, so I'm gonna get this cleaned up for when the buyer comes to pick it up. Yes, and under this tarp is a very dirty Jeep Wrangler. I'll get to that in a second. I'm pretty sure a cat is living in it, so that's not great. I gotta get that all cleaned up, but we'll do that in a moment. And out here in the front yard, we've got my wife's Prius, but we never wash this car, so I'm not gonna bother with that today. And over here, my 2005 Scion XB. Once again, the car that is very dirty. For some reason, spiders just love to build webs right in the corner here. But yeah, this car is filthy. I gotta wash this today. All right, so it kind of looks like it's always looked pretty crappy. Paint's never really been in great condition. That's fine though. It's a Jeep Wrangler. It's not supposed to be pretty. Rearview mirror fell off. Maybe it's quite obvious, but there's no passenger seat right now. I took it out because I had to use the Jeep as a truck. I needed a little bit more space for lumber, so I took that out. All right, let's get it moved over and I can clean it out a little bit. The battery's dead. Guess that's to be expected. This Jeep has had a parasitic draw for a long time and I forgot to unhook the battery, so. All right, well, let's take care of that. You know, actually, before we take care of that, let me just check the battery on the good old Ford Pro because this car has also been sitting for a couple months and I kind of forgot to put a battery tender on it. It does have a new battery, so it's probably fine, but let's just find out. All right, okay, that one started. That's good news. Let me check. Good old Nova. All right, well that's good. I was kind of hoping the Probe would start because that does have a pretty new battery. This twin cam, on the other hand, this battery is very old. It's been maybe 2 months since I've driven this and I forgot to put it on the battery tender, so I'm not really sure about this one. Nothing. That sucks. All right, well, let's take care of that. All right, so I've got 2 cars that need to be jumped, 4 cars that need to be cleaned before we can even really get to talking about any of them because, I don't know, I can't stand to show these cars so gross on my channel. Now, I wish I had space to keep these all garaged. I only have 1 garage space available. These other 2 garage bays is actually living space, so I really shouldn't own any cars that need to be garaged because I don't really have space for them. So it's probably a good thing that I slimmed down the fleet from 13 down to like 6 or whatever I have now. All right, let's get these started. Let's get them washed. Yeah, we can go from there. This is actually pretty good timing because recently I received a jump starter in the mail from this company that wanted me to check it out. So they knew that my fleet is generally mostly garbage and they knew that I'd probably have a bunch of vehicles that needed to be jump started. So here it is right here. So this is the Vitoman or Vitoman or Vitamin. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. This thing is heavy. I wonder what kind of battery it's got in it. So it's a jump start. It also has an air compressor, so I should probably check the tire pressures that I got. 4250 amps peak current. I guess they say you can start up to a 10-liter engine. I don't really have any 10-liter engines in my collection, but carrying case. All right, here it is. There's a user manual. I don't need that. All right, there it is. Oh, check this out. It's got a light. That's cool. That's how you set the PSI for the air compressor. Press and hold for the light. Okay, it flashes red, I guess if you have an emergency. That's cool. All right, what else we got in this bag? A couple different attachments for the air compressor. USB cable to charge it. So this can also be used as like a big giant battery for your phone. That'll let your phone last for a long time. So if you're interested in buying one of these Vitoman air compressor / jump starters, you can get a 5% discount code in my description below. And make sure you use the link to buy this in the description below so you can help support the channel. But before you do that, let's check this out and see it in action. Let's start with the Jeep. There we go. All right, let's go start this up. All right, wish me luck. Yes. Let's let that one run for a second. Let's get this good old Nova started. Okay, positive, negative. All right, come on, little Nova. You can do it. Ooh, backfired. This one has a cold start problem I gotta sort out. Runs like crap for a little bit. And after about 20 seconds, it starts to run well. All right, I wasn't expecting that backfire. Let those run. All right, very cool. All right, I think I'm going to air up my tires because these cars have been sitting for a while, so let's test this out too. It's kind of cool to have both a jump starter and an air compressor in one because crappy car problems. Oh, it's been so long since I put air in these tires. These things need a little bit more love than I've been showing them. Oh yeah, that's at 24, that's no good. All right, let's see, how do I start this? Right here? You know, actually I was thinking this thing would be pretty useful to have when you're going off-road onto some dirt trails, which I'm going to be doing again with this CX-50. Sometimes you need to air down those tires to get over some rocky terrain and some rough terrain. So it's probably good to have something like this just hanging out in your car if you need to air down and then pump them back up. Yeah, so I think I'm just gonna go and put this in the back of the CX-50 so I've got it ready, because you never know when you're gonna need something like that. All right, I think these have been running long enough that I can turn them off and they'll start again. Okay, there we go. All right, so I got my super cool hat on because it's blazing hot out here. It's super sunny, it's like 1,000,000 degrees. So let's go and move some of these cars around, get them all washed up, and we can talk about them. Well, okay, individually they still kind of look like garbage, but this is a little bit more presentable. All right, the next thing I have to do with this collection of misfit toys is wash them, but it's about 100 degrees Fahrenheit out right now, and I don't really feel like doing that right now. I'm already boiling hot, moving all these hot cars, so I guess this is where we do one of those fancy YouTube cuts to later in the day. Let's try it. Huh, how about that? It worked. Anyway, I've got 4 dirty cars right here. I think I'm only going to wash 3 of them because I don't really need to wash a Jeep, right? It's supposed to be dirty. All right, let's get these dirty cars washed, and then we can talk about them. Nice thing about owning a compact car from the 80s, it doesn't take very long to wash it because it's tiny. Although I think I'm gonna have to wash this one twice because it is filthy. Okay, I'm exhausted, but I think I have just enough energy and maybe just enough sunlight to talk about some things that are going on with these cars. Let's start with the Probe right here. The Probe is sold. It found a buyer. They paid me a few weeks ago. They're just coming out from New Jersey to buy it. So this is going away this weekend, so I don't really need to say anything other than goodbye. If you want to watch my last video with this vehicle, click above. Let's go to the Jeep. I don't really drive it that often. I love Jeeps. They are so much fun. So I love Wranglers. They're so much fun on a dirt road, on trails, but I just don't really really drive this one very much. I probably should drive it a lot more than I do. So as you can see, it's in need of some attention. I think here's my checklist for this vehicle. I'm gonna do new seats, I'm gonna do new door panels, and then I think what I'm gonna do is just clean up and paint this floor. Everything up here is in good working order, it just needs to be cleaned. I'm going to find a glove box, and I think I'm going to find a center console. Now I don't have back seats for this Jeep. I kind of want to put them in. So I think what I'm going to do is go with tan color seats. Let me know what you think. Right now I have gray and tan, but I think I want to go tan. And I also think I want to put a tan top on this Jeep. I am going to put new mirrors on this thing. So yeah, the list is getting a little bit longer than I had hoped, but let me take care of all of the really obvious aesthetic things. And the good news is that this thing runs great. I put so much money into this vehicle. It was kind of a piece of garbage when I got it. All right, so yeah, I do have a bit of a checklist for this vehicle, but thankfully, I think it's all things that I can do personally, not anything too difficult, which is good because if you've seen some of my other videos, you know that I'm a terrible mechanic, so let's keep things simple, right? All right, let's move on to my Scion XB. So my Scion XB, I've done a ton of videos with this vehicle. I've owned this since new, so almost 20 years. Had it painted not too long ago. And yes, while it is pretty clean, it looks pretty shiny and sparkly from 10 feet. If you get up a little bit closer, you can see swirl marks on the paint, that kind of thing. So I do really want to do a paint correction on this thing to get the paint looking perfect. There's a couple other little minor details that I need to take care of. I still need to put in windshield washer nozzles. My friend Serge was kind enough to pull those for me from a junkyard. I just have to put them in. The grill is a little bit loose. That's something I might just go with the old zip tie method. We'll have to see. And my cheap $2 license plate bracket is still holding pretty well, so I'm happy about that. These aftermarket headlights, these are from eBay. They replaced the super fogged out ones that I had. These look pretty good, but they provide really terrible light, so I might end up replacing those too. And then everything else is looking pretty good. I still am pretty happy with my wheel and tire choice. 15-inch Koenig wheels with these Kumho tires. So on the inside, I currently have a bunch of stuff I need to take to Goodwill, stuff that we're giving away. Anybody want a Disney bookshelf? So we have a problem back here. This thing rattles a ton when I'm driving. It's super annoying. I think the reason why it rattles is because when I had this car painted, I took this panel off and replaced the handle on the back, which those break on every single Scion. This is actually the third handle that this vehicle has had. So when I replaced that, put this back on here, and something is up. I gotta fix that. And not a big deal, but it's just kind of a minor annoyance when I'm driving. And then on the inside, I replaced these door lock actuators. They're a lot better than they were, but they still kind of have a mind of their own. When it's hot, sometimes they lock you in the car, which is not great. So yeah, I still really haven't figured that one out. But you know, while we're inside here, it looks pretty good. There's really not anything we need to do on the interior. I can't believe that this interior still looks like it did in 2005. Whatever materials Toyota used back then, they figured it out. I do have a crack in the windshield, which I need to take care of. Oh, actually, you know what? The one thing that I neglected to mention about this vehicle, so over the last couple of years, I had bragged about how many miles this car had, and it was still running on the original clutch. And I think the car finally got sick of all my bragging, because yes, I can tell that it's gonna go very soon. And I kind of went back and forth on this, you know, should I spend the money to replace the clutch in this car, a car that is really not worth a whole lot of money? But this vehicle has a lot of sentimental value, so I'm gonna go ahead and do it. All right, so my Chevy Nova twin cam, it looks pretty good, especially at this time of day when the sun is not directly shining on the paint. If you get a little bit closer, you can see that the paint is a little bit oxidized. It's got a lot of pits and little marks and that kind of thing. Not too long ago, I put some new headlights on this car, so they look a lot better than it used to. There's a couple little minor aesthetic things here. That little bit of paint has come off, and I probably do need to repaint my windshield wipers. And there's a little bit of issue with the paint right here and right there, but this has been there for a long time. I just haven't got around to fixing it. But the main issue that I've got going on with this car is that the paint on the roof is starting to fade, and I've got a couple little spots here and here on the trunk. I had a car cover on this thing, and you'd think that a car cover should protect it. I made sure the car was absolutely clean before I put the cover on, but yeah, it just rubbed away at the clear coat a little bit, which is a huge, huge bummer. Yeah, so I don't really know what I want to do about this. It doesn't look great. I guess I could have the roof and the trunk painted, but I'm always concerned about, you know, if you only paint a couple panels, will everything match? I don't know if I want to repaint the whole car. What would you do? Let me know in the comments below. Now, if you remember older videos about this car, I've talked about this red stripe many, many times, and I still have never fixed it. I guess there's like a 3M tape you can buy. I am finally going to get around to fixing this. Before the next car show that I go to, I'll peel all of this red tape off and actually reapply it and make that look a little bit better. So one little small issue in the trunk, it's a little bit hard to see, but when I wash the car or when it rains, you do get, yeah, there we go. You do get some water that comes in, and I think it's coming in through these taillight seals, but you know, good luck getting a taillight seal for a 1988 Chevy Nova. So I have to just kind of take this apart and kind of see if I can figure out if there's some other way that I can seal it. All right, let's take a look on the inside. So there's a couple issues here. The main issue is that these seats are pretty dirty. It's really hard to keep a very light gray seat clean. They've always been kind of dirty, especially these headrests. So I'm gonna go get these professionally cleaned. And maybe while we're at it, we'll have them clean this door panel too. That's not actually that bad. But speaking of door panels, these little door cranks, this is like the third set that I've gone through. These constantly break. I think part of it is that sometimes it's very difficult to roll the window down. So probably what I need to do is take the door apart and grease the tracks or something, get this to open a little bit easier. Because it's so difficult to open, these little rollers snap right off. That's the case on this side and on the passenger side. So once we're inside, it's in pretty good shape. No cracks on the dash, which I'm glad about because this car has not been garaged for like the last year. So it's nice that we're still looking pretty decent in here. And then we have this, I guess it's period correct for when somebody probably owned this car back in the early 2000s, this Sony stereo. But I think I want to take this out and replace it with the original factory stereo, which I got at a junkyard. I'm going to see if I can find somebody that can add Bluetooth to that factory stereo and then put it back in here. All right, so I've mentioned this in a couple other videos about this vehicle, but yes, it still does not have a headliner. It didn't have one when I got it. Every single Nova from this generation that I've ever seen does not have a headliner because they all sag and fall out. So I'm not really sure what I want to do about this. I guess I could have something custom put in. It would be nice to have a light back here because when the previous owner took out the headliner, they just cut the wires for the light. The main problem that I've got is that a lot of this trim right here is super brittle. I'm guessing this is probably the trim that General Motors provided. Everything else is like Toyota, but I'm guessing that this is like 80s brittle General Motors trim. So yeah, there's a couple wires down here. The previous owner ran some wires to a subwoofer in the trunk, and I've never bothered to take out these cables. I might just leave them. They never really bothered me. But yeah, that's pretty much it. All right, so I guess that's it for today. If you like this video and you want to see more like it, please consider subscribing and hitting that bell icon. If you want to help support the channel, please buy a Hello Road t-shirt at helloroad.tv/shop. If you're interested in that jump starter / air compressor that I featured earlier in this video, be sure to use my link in the description below to get a discount, and it will help support the channel. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you're well, and I'll see you soon.